I have been referring to our guests as witnesses, and, and our conversations with them as cross-examinations.
Right,
and when I get home, my wife says, Eliot, you've got to understand, this is not a courtroom. But the only thing I was going to say is our guests may feel they're only given time for a soundbite, but I'm being taught to give them more space to answer. So it's a slow learning curve. The best lawyers have many dimensions to their personality. There are some lawyers for whom there is only one speed. And they can be extraordinarily effective at that, but they only go in overdrive. And their demeanor in the courtroom is always that dogged, aggressive, jackhammer approach. The best lawyers have many dimensions to their persona in the courtroom. And I think when I watch lawyers who bring that to the playing field, I'm in awe of them. There's always one lawyer in the courtroom who dominates the court. And it's either the judge, the defense, or the prosecution. And usually the emotional center of the court is the winning party, just because the jury gravitates. The jury looks to one person for guidance. Now, in theory, it should be the judge. I mean, there'd be some sense of equilibrium. As a prosecutor, you always want it to be you. Often, it is the defense attorney, if the defense attorney is a very skilled advocate. And that is a consequence of knowing how to play the emotional strings. And it's a much more complicated issue than just being in overdrive. There's fame, there's infamy, there's celebrity. They're all different things and bring different upsides, downsides. You know, as listening to your introduction, you said my life has never been dull. Dull looks pretty good sometimes.
During these last 2 years, was it crazy for you sitting on the sidelines, crazy making for you sitting these last 2 years saying, look, you know, put me in, coach. There are things I would do.
Look, sure it was, but just you know, continue a bad metaphor, I had benched myself. So it was hard at many, many levels, just as it's hard, I think, for anybody who cares about these issues, about the state, about what is happening to our economy, the sorts of structural problems that are there that we wanted to address from Albany.
Do we have a right to wish for our elected officials to lead exemplarily moral lives?
Sure we do. Look, I'm not going to, you know, I see an out here. I'm not going to take it. Saying that the banks have failed us, which they did, saying that the banks lost all sensibility and sense of proportion in terms of how they were running themselves as institutions, doesn't mean that it's better for society to have them fail. We needed to preserve the structure, but the deal should have been, fellas, here's what you will now be permitted to do, here's what you will not be permitted to do, and that deal should have been negotiated when they asked for the money. In other words, what happened was the Treasury Department and the Fed said, here's your blank check, take it and be well. And then 6 months later, when we began to discuss more seriously financial services reform, the banks suddenly showed up on the other side. In other words, use the leverage you've got. Don't rearm your enemy and then say, now let's negotiate. Just so it's clear, I am a confirmed capitalist. What I believe is intervention that will save the market. What the other side believes in is intervention that will preserve a broken system of corporate control that has brought us to the precipice. The plutocracy of a few banks that made enormous money that destroyed the heart and soul of our economy. What I wanted to see was real competition, a real capitalist structure, and that's what I believe in, and that's the game I've played.